Alright, now we're going to learn about distance and midpoint. Here's your title and your date. What are we learning today? Again, we're going to find our essential question from this. What is the slope of the red line and the blue line? So I want to know, what's the slope of this line? What's the slope of this line? And does the green line have a positive or negative slope? Alright, the length of a segment is the distance between 2 points. Points are, we call x1, y1 and x2, y2. So the distance formula gives us square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. Okay, or we can graph 2 points, construct a right triangle, and use the Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to look at both ways to do this. Alright, so here is a point. Now, what I would do if we're using the equation, remember we have a point x1, y1, and x2, y2. So I'm going to label this x1, y1, just like we did with our slope formula, and x2, y2. Then it's simply a matter of plugging in my values and then putting them into the calculator. So x1 is -4. x2 is -6, so minus -6 squared, plus y1 is 7 minus y2 is -4 squared. Okay, so we got the square root of -1 minus a -6. Minus a -6 becomes plus a +6, so we've got 2 squared. And then 7 minus a -4 is again becomes plus a positive, so plus 7 plus 4 is 11 squared. So we get 4 plus 121 equals the square root of 125. And if we type the square root of 125 into our calculator, we get 11.18. Okay. Now the other thing we can do is we can actually graph these 2 points on the graph and then construct a right triangle. So we've got -4 right here, +7, and then we've got -6, -4. Okay, so what I can do is actually construct this right triangle. Okay, here's my right angle. And then this is the hypotenuse, and that's the one I want to find the length of. So I know that the length of this one is 1, 2. The length of this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I know that the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And this is our hypotenuse, or our longest side. So this is going to be c. So we're going to have a squared, 2 squared, plus b squared is 11 squared, equals c squared. So 2 squared is 4, plus 11 squared is 121, equals c squared. 4 plus 121 is 125, equals c squared. And then I get rid of the squared, remember, by taking the square root of both sides. So I get c squared, take the square root of c, equals the square root of 125, which is the same thing we got back here on this side. And our answer is 11.18. So we get the same answer no matter which way we do it. So we can construct a right triangle and use the Pythagorean theorem, or we can use our formula. Alright, the midpoint of a segment between 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and here's our comma because we're looking for a point. And we know that our points look like this, x comma y. So then y1 plus y2. So we can use our formula, or we can graph the 2 points and find the vertical and horizontal distance between them and cut it in half. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So here's our formula. Again, we're going to label x1, y1, x2, y2. And we're just going to simply plug those into our formula. x1 is -4 plus x2 is -6 divided by 2, comma, y1 is 7 plus y2 is -4 over 2. So now we're going to look at them like it's halves. We're going to do 1/2 at a time. So -4 plus -6 is -10 divided by 2, comma, 7 plus -4 is 3 over 2. So then -10 over 2 reduces to -5, and then the 3 over 2 just stays as 3 over 2. So that is our midpoint, -5, 3 over 2. Now let's do it using a graph and see if we get the same answer. So here's -4, 7 again, and -6, -4. So again, we know that our up distance, so the distance from here to here, is 11, and then our distance from here to here is 1. So I'm going to cut those distances in half. 11 divided by 2 equals 5.5, or 5 1/2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So instead of going up 11 and over 2, I'm going to go up 5.5 and over 1. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 and over 1. So here is my midpoint. Now my midpoint, the point is actually at -5, comma 1.5. And if we look back here, we got -5, 3/2, and if we type 3/2 into our calculator, we get 1.5. So we got -5, 1.5, or we can call it -5 and 3/2. So we got the same answer both ways. You're free to use the formula or this way.